So it's just like in sync all the things.
Okay. I don't know, just like about maybe you talk about the space for a second, and then I'll like be like, thank you for inviting me, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, or we could just talk about your butthole.
We could talk about my asshole for sure, which is probably my least favorite topic, but because it's always leaking.
Yeah, what hasn't been this whole time?
Like everything's leaking.
I feel like your butthole is just having the hardest time.
It's not great. I think it's a winter thing for me. I get all clammy and juicy and drink a shitload of coffee.
Oh yeah, it's probably the coffee. I like how you tried to blame me for the smoothies at first.
No, like, that was a whole different. That was different because that turned it into like the regular like problems that I have gastronomically into like an extreme emergency explosion like 10 times a day with blood.
Anyway,
Okay.
I'm super excited for you to have spent the last December, January month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
It's almost 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we first dreamed of having this space, we were all talking about it from the beginning, and immediately, you know, the way that your practice is and the way that you've like led your life, you're just so down to jump in and just go full.
I'm super fluid. Yeah. I mean, I'm always looking for an opportunity like this where I can plant myself somewhere, not super worried about the outside world, and like just make a body of work, because a lot of times in my life, like especially in Los Angeles, I'm just like struggling to pay the bills. And my very near and dear personal work that means everything to me, and when I get to create it, it's hard to like sit down in one space sometimes and make a body of work when you're having to do like design jobs or mural jobs or whatever to just survive financially, you know. But like in any opportunity like this, just it makes my world so worth it. I love it. Like I'm so comfortable in that space where, in this space in particular, either where I get to create on my own or like I'm with my really, really close friends like you and Rabbi and Joey, and I'm able to just like be myself to the fullest. It's like perfect opportunity for me to just, I could keep going forever in this space, you know?
And this is the second time we've gotten to do this together. I think the first time was a couple of years ago.
And the first time, well, actually, was it a couple of years ago? What year was it? 2016, 2017? I know it was around then because Trump was definitely just elected.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I was just coming back from the project or the exhibition I did in Iceland. And you guys had set up a show for me at Treason and gave me a space to kind of do the same wild creation.
Yeah, and that was 3 months straight too. I felt like it, right? It got to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were in there for 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's been about 2 months now. We started at the end of December, kind of around Christmas, because you came back to visit your family here in Seattle, right? Wasn't like the 24th or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny, like talking, like creating that way, and especially with the chaos that ensues and the intensity. It's so funny talking about it sort of at the end of something like that, because it's like, it feels like you're coming out of like a long binge, like a a month of just binge drinking or something, and you're coming to. And now it's funny because now I'm like looking at these aliens that I've been painting and stuff, and it's almost more of a feeling of like the meaning is turning from these beings that I was started painting about to alienation. You know, it's like alienating yourself in a good way, and then there's the time that we're living in, which is the scary type of alienation that we have to actually like kind of fight to not go into, whether it's just being in a space by yourself or politically, or just sitting on the web and, you know, not having any actual human contact.
Yeah, I feel like last year was a crazy year for everyone in general, but especially I think for us, because we had to do some pretty amazing things in 2020. I mean,
I got who's out in Mississippi right now. I'm about to go meet back with her and start a whole nother art journey. Hopefully creating more space for more artists, and also educating the youth out there through a nonprofit, which I'm really excited about. It's a lot of stuff is up in the air about that, but it's going to be a new adventure, and my goal for that is to continue what's going on here with myself as well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because like my work is really impacted by my location, but I'm also somebody who likes to work in different places. And I think someday maybe I will settle somewhere, maybe back here, Los Angeles, I don't know, but like I hope that I will have had enough experience in different types of places to where I have all of those experiences in me and in my work as I continue making it, you know, like my work probably changed the most when I was in Iceland, because it was such a different experience. Like most of my career, I've been working in LA, and then to go out to a place like that where people are so connected to the earth, you know, and it shows in everything that they do. That really, really changed my whole, and I became more connected to the earth, and that really changed my whole trajectory. And actually, I sort of started to slow down on painting people, and sort of, I was already kind of cutting people's faces off and just doing their bodies and like the natural stuff. But I think that connection that I got to nature out there like stuck with me, and now it's sort of become a lot more about my own nature and my own connection to nature, and also connection to humans, which are nature. And now it's sort of coming back fully fledged, where the nature is now in these objects that are identifiable, you know, like a basketball and an alien and a baseball bat. That's all I'm painting right now, which is weird, but you know, it sort of gives me the freedom to like paint these organic shapes, but as well as showing people a little bit more of my language through identifiable objects. And it's not necessarily like they're not like representations of this or that to me, but they're just shapes and objects that are part of my language. But at the same time, they do say something. Like they do have the ability to, like a basketball has the ability for somebody to pick it up at a young age or something and give them the ability to find greatness in something, you know, just like a paintbrush, or just like it's a tool to test the human capabilities. And it's also a tool to entertain us. Like some of these paintings, I'm like thinking, like I'm just laughing half the time, but I'm thinking like these, like there's beings coming down from another planet and they're just watching like the NBA finals or the World Series, and then like maybe finding a bat and taking a bat back to their planet or whatever, or their dimension, and like moving it with their mind or something. I don't know. But I think everything's multidimensional, which is so multidimensional that we're like, us living in this 2D, 3D world, I have a hard time imagining that those are the only dimensions. Do you know what I mean? And that goes into like, even like you might meet somebody and get the wrong impression of who they are, but they're an extremely multidimensional person or character. And so the idea of like, first of all, not being a super judgmental person works in your favor. Not judging things from the very beginning, or discarding things or whatever. Like I'm always super interested in almost every human I ever meet, because I'm like, okay, well, I've only seen the side of them that I've seen, but there's so much going on. It's like the tip of the iceberg thing. It's like there's so much going on inside of every thing and every person that we don't know. And I think about that a lot. That's like, I think I mentioned this to you before, but that's kind of like God to me, is like the shit that we don't know, like the unknown about the universe, about people. And a lot of times I just try to paint that, like the stuff that I don't know about myself. It's almost like trying to have a conversation with the stuff that I don't know about myself and see if it tells me anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does. Sometimes I throw paintings away and I'm like, fuck this shit. But
I think it's interesting the way that you put yourself in different situations in order to gain perspectives. You know, a lot of people stay in the same place that they grew up, but you keep bringing yourself and holding your practice like close to you and going into a new environment with new people, and then like painting what that feels like or how you feel in that space. And it like adds, you know, perspective to your perspective and the way that you're bringing those to the world, bringing that like image to the world.
Yeah, it's funny because as a younger artist, like maybe in my late 20s, or I don't want to say early 30s because it makes me feel older, but like I really wanted to like find this style, like, and then be that's my identity, that's my person, like I have this style, and now I'm gonna go out and like be successful, or like, you know what I mean, find the right gallery, or fly all the, you know, whatever, the dream. But like I don't know, through a series of many different events in my life, like I just more discovered that art is like this ongoing life journey that I'll always be on. Like it's, you know, one of the major loves of my life. And like, why would I confine myself to that when the art is really about self-discovery? Like, why would I put myself in some kind of like style cage? Though I have given myself rules now in my paintings, and also I discovered through that like painting is like the thing that like is like it's like my car. Like it's gonna take me wherever I go because it's just my obsession. And anytime I do the art, like, oh, I'm gonna change careers, or like I want to become a sculptor or this and that. And I definitely do want to do sculptures for fun because I love doing that. But like painting is really the thing that is like me. It's like me and my spirit. Like that's my connection to earth and everything. Like, I don't exactly know where I was going with that, but kind of what I was talking about was that like I've made myself a few rules, and I kind of learned that I wanted to do that because I have a tendency to go like so far in different directions. Even though when I look back at my older work, I see a linear sort of shift that brings me here right now that makes complete sense to me. You know, like I don't see my art from like 10 years ago and think, oh my God, it's just so different. I just see, oh, I remember these little tubes that I started making. That was kind of my first idea of like spirit and nature and like the shit that drives us and takes us places where we're going that has nothing to do with the our control. That's the unknown thing to me too. It's like all this shit that is out of our control is God to me, because we can't just have what we want, or we can't just control people. We can't control anything. Like we can barely control ourselves. There's like a small percentage. So letting go is a huge part of my practice. It's like letting go of control and searching for what exists, you know? But that's part of the fluidity of my work. But I did the rules that I created were that everything starts at a base, which is the earthly mound growth, whatever it is. In some cases, it's a basketball or an alien head, and it all builds off of that. And it's all confined within the space of the canvas or the image, because I like to think of it as like a real happening, you know? And if, to me, for some reason, if it goes off of the space, then it doesn't exist. But if it sticks within, like, these things actually exist to me. It's like a real conversation with God that I had, or with my spirit or nature or my own nature that actually exists, you know, in real space. So that probably doesn't make too much sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to me. Like it's contained. It's like captured, you know, in the moment. Like it's inside of the space. Yeah.
It's funny how often constraints almost inhibit like more freedom, you know, once you like set a couple boundaries for yourself, then within that you try and figure out, okay, well, what can I do infinitely inside of those, just as using those as rules.
Well, for me, that's the only way, because I have to, this all came about because I really, and it took about 3 years to get to this point, but I was doing this, like I was starting everything from the base, and then like a few years of doing that work down the line, I was like, I'm staying with this because it's the only thing that keeps my mind at ease, to the point where I can paint without thinking to a certain degree, you know, like that I can create freely. And that's just exactly what you just said. Like just 2 rules. Those are the only 2 rules that I've created for myself. And since then, I don't worry. Like, my other rule before that I broke was that I had created was that I did not want to use imagery references. Like, I wanted to, like, my whole goal is to get to the point where I'm just painting and that's it. And it's just me and like a few materials, oil mediums, paint brushes, and like whatever definitely canvas. I'm loving canvas a lot more. And I love oil paper. And that was my goal. But for this, I've been more and more sort of, I don't use like a reference, like I'm finding this exact reference, but like I just straight up go on to like, I do like a Google search and I take like 3 pictures and I sort of paint a couple of pieces from that, and then I sort of just don't look at it anymore. But I'm really trying to I want to get that out of there. Like, I really don't want any reference in my work. I want it to really just be about whatever's inside me going onto the canvas, you know? But the more and more I like, you know, in school, it was really good to go back. I've taken a bunch of life drawing classes like in the past, but to go back recently, I went back to school, and just everything in school is fucking amazing. I love it. I don't really love the institution. Too much of education, but when it comes to like the art classes, going back and taking a bunch of art history classes, that's been super fulfilling. And I'm also interested in like teaching people eventually. So I think I'm going to keep going. I've never got a BFA or MFA or any of that. So I think I'm going to keep going because I really have enjoyed that process, but also just doing something like taking a couple semesters of life drawing, like that makes it so much easier to not have to deal with the idea of a reference. Mm-hmm. Like, the more and more you're doing like life drawing or drawing from life, the more you can just kind of like walk up to a canvas and start painting. And it's there, like all your skills are there, everything you know, understand about the elements of design, and you know, every technique that you've learned from all my friends that I've collaborated with, it's all just there. And that's what I want. I want it to more and more just be there to the point where that's it.
Do you have your own internal Google search?
Yeah.
Where you just have an idea and you can flip through your brain.
Well, and the paintings that I've done that are like that are just straight up, I just fucking started painting. Like, I discovered things about myself in those paintings, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. And then I feel like I've seen some of the reactions to those paintings in people, and they're just like, even one of my professors at one point like was looking at my painting. She's like, I can't stop looking at it. And I'm like, I think because there's that like really, those paintings are really like full of human nature and some really psychological, psychedelic, spiritual shit in there. Yeah. You know?
Let me check this camera real quick. Mm-hmm. The light changed so much. Yeah, you're good. So you must have been like kind of an anomaly showing up to what school did you go to when you went back?
I've been going to LACC for like the last few years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what?
Los Angeles City College.
Yeah, but how did you feel? Like, what when you all of a sudden showed up in class? You know, imagine as like a fellow student or like a teacher. You don't really know your students. You know, were most people starting, or was it? Because you've already had like many successful lives and experiences before like reinserting yourself back into the foundations.
Yeah. One thing that I really discovered while I've been there is that I want to teach. The other thing is that beginning artists and a lot of the younger people that are in there like blew me away with some of their stuff, you know. I mean, there's some people that are just learning the very, very basics, but like, especially in my painting and drawing class, being surrounded by student artwork sometimes and critiquing it, like, you're just like looking at the potential that people have. And I was happy to, I didn't go in there like, oh, I've traveled the world and done art and had all these experiences. Like, it was more like it really like felt very earthly, grounded, and man, like I love my teachers. I love my professors, and I love everything that I've learned from them, and I've learned from the students. And I was a TA. And I would like set up the still life painting stuff, and like just all that experience, I think really like has brought me to another level of understanding. And like also just my goal is to always sort of see everybody on the same plane, and like, and that doesn't mean like, oh, that I think I'm better or I think that I'm worse than people. It's just like, I feel like everybody is really truly on the same plane. And definitely I absolutely respect all of any artist that has gone all the way through the education system, like to whatever, get an MFA from Yale or MFA from UCLA, or even there's a lot of professors that get their doctorate now. That's an intense process, you know? And I think I see a lot of students coming out of like Cal Arts and stuff. Some of them all sort of at some point seemed like they had like a very similar whole thing going on. It was like de-skilling, loving the idea of de-skilling, which I totally respect that. I love, dude, I'm at a place right now where like, I hate Instagram, but I like looking at a lot of art on there for just because that's what my finger does is the minute I turn my phone on. But I'm at a place right now where I'm looking at all different forms of art and just loving it. Like, there's so much amazing shit being created in the world right now. And I think that this is part of my basketball thing too. I realize is that art, there's a competitive nature to it right now, especially in art. I think there always has been, but it's like very apparent right now. There's like a very competitive like vibe, you know, going on in the art world. I don't know, whatever, the world of art. And I think it's really good because I see the art that I'm looking at blows me away, like all different kinds, even like people that may have not been doing art for 20 something years or whatever. Like, some of the people that are coming up are just putting a lot of imagery out there. Like, people get it. Like, people get it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everything from abstract to, and I've even gone back to like lowbrow, high, like all of it. And I'm really into it. I think a lot of artists, from what I've seen, sort of become their own like self purists in a way. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they really get juiced on a direction, like a trajectory, and sort of get to the point where they're like, oh well, like the stuff that I'm really into is better than this stuff over here, and I don't understand this stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think you're the opposite of that because you have a really inclusive nature, like saying saying that people exist on the same plane, and like there's a potential, and the idea of someone that's highly educated and highly practiced trying their hardest to remove their learned attributes, and then you talk about like working with children, and children are the opposite of that, like they just have pure imagination and like complete free form, like they're not judging themselves. And so it's kind of interesting how everyone kind of meets in the middle eventually.
Or they don't. I mean, the art world, I think, that's one of the art world. There's many art worlds, and they're all just this world. They're all just the world. But like, the art world that's run by the same gangsters that rule the fucking earth, or the billionaires or whatever, is not inclusive. It's not inclusive, and it pretends to be inclusive and divine and godly and all this stuff, but it's really all about disgusting things. It is. But it's the same thing as like the American way and the American economy, but it's also one of those things where it's like, when you're a kid and there's like all these different scenes and avenues, and it's like when you're a kid and you like find this scene. For me, it was like death metal and punk rock and hip hop and stuff like that. Like I found all these different scenes like out here in Seattle, and like you're so juiced at first, and then you get like the deeper into it, and you're like, oh, like
this is the reality of that.
I don't fucking like this. But the fact that you went into that scene gave you definitely a perspective to bring with you when you leave. And it's like, I've been in so many different ones, like skateboarding, all of those different types of music, and a lot of friends that do graffiti, and it's all kind of, once you're out of all those scenes, like you still have that love and experience. But I felt that way for a long time. Every time I would like move my way into a different part of the art world, I kind of found myself isolating away from it, but that's also the side of me that had resentment for certain things. But I'm trying to like, not I'm trying, but like nowadays it's like I was saying, like I see everything a little more clearly, I think. Like it's all amazing to me. And I love the fact that people are creating so much right now,
Yeah.
And even before the pandemic, but now that we're in the pandemic, I'm really glad that people decided to allow that to stop them, and even in many cases gave people time to like think about what they're doing and be able to put out some amazing stuff,
Yeah.
And hopefully there's a lot more to come of that.
As important as it is to define that space as an individual, like mentally and emotionally and spiritually, like how much do you think physical space also influences you?
I mean, it's everything. Like that's part of the containment of my work too. It's like physical space. I mean, it's everything. If you're able to have awesome friends like you who have amazing space, or if you're able to have your own studio, like me and Rabbi's studio in LA, like it's everything. It really is everything. Like, I mean, there was points last year I was like living in this studio apartment with a dog, and I was still in there like filling up my entire apartment with paintings. But having a space, and especially being able to work around content creators like yourself, or people that know how to like capture things, I think that's obviously it's like giving somebody a voice in a stage, or you know what I mean. And there's so many people that need that. So many creative voices that need that. Yeah. Like this space I am madly, deeply in love with this space.
Yeah, me
like
too.
we have a bond that will never be broken. You know.
Yeah, and what's cool is once you develop that energy and that idea, it's something that, can transcend physicality. We can bring this idea to Mississippi, or we can bring this idea anywhere and just
and that's
set
what
it
we
up
will
for people.
Yeah. And that's what we will do. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm very inspired about the idea of giving that to somebody else. You know what I mean? As you've given it to me, and as other people have given that to me, like and also capturing that moment of them creating like that. It just means everything, like it's so beautiful to be able to give somebody that time and that spotlight and that space, like and then comes back the idea of like seeing somebody's potential turn into a reality. Like,
yeah, because look, now we're surrounded by paintings. All of a sudden, this place was blank when you walked in, and it's pretty much filled to the brim.
Yeah.
Which is exciting, because the idea of potential, not only potential in yourself and what you were able to create, but the potential for these things, these objects, to go places to then influence whoever has the experience of seeing them, or living with them,
but also gives this place life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. That's almost going to be the hardest part for me, is kind of refreshing between each one. I'm going to have this a bit of a hangover. I feel like in between each, where it's like I become sad, and then mad, and then it's like a whole grieving process. I feel it, and
totally.
I felt it today when I walked in, and I've, we're doing laundry and we're packing and we're getting ready to go off to the next one. We're like, God damn it! Like,
it's like it's the death end card, Yeah. There is that, and then there's the like attachment to nothing, open to everything scenario, where it's like, okay, well, you and me are obviously going to be working together forever, hopefully, or at least until we die. Maybe after that, I don't know. But like, there's nothing better than being close to your friends, man. Especially ones that like tell you what's up, like people that tell you straight up how they feel, are our friend Rabbi is really good at telling me when he doesn't like my work.
Yeah, but
And
that's
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that about him.
Speaking of Rabbi, can you check like the cameras and the levels? Because it got dark in here. But yeah, holding each other accountable in a positive, like progressive light, I think is always important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we did that a lot last year because it was so fucking crazy, the entirety of everything that happened. And is it dark? I'm just worried about this one turning blue.
This one's fine. It's just yellow a bit because the lights.
Can we? I wonder if we could like cut and refocus or no.
How would I do that?
Don't worry about that one, but let's do that one.
I don't know, like it's not that bad.
No, but we can go like this.
How you can, but you can punch it up later.
Yeah.
Which I told. Well, I guess
Sorry.
this is probably the perfect time to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sweet.
Yeah. But
Okay, cool.
But also, point being, like, I feel like I have confidence that I'll be able, that we'll be good on this journey of art. You know what I mean? And the more and more I think we're able to build together and build a network of friends and artists and collectives of creatives, and also the entrepreneurial side of everything is like, the more we can sort of give back to another, whatever it is, community or youth, like that's really been on my mind a lot more as I don't know if the word is getting older, but as the longer I've been doing art, like it's starting to get to the point where it's giving back so much to me that like I really feel that in my heart, that like I want to give it to other people.
Yeah, and that's been a difficult part for me the last couple of months as we're starting to create this space and this brand, because so often when you have conversations with people like in the normal world, or someone from a different perspective, whether they're coming from like finance or like business or something, and they ask, like, well, what is this about? Like, what is your business plan? What's the model? And like, it's hard to explain like the abstractness of just building a community, or just like building a community, like how do you put a price on building a community? Like,
well, the thing is too, is like, I think people that work with artists, I really want to have more open conversations with people that work for artists, with artists, not for artists. Because it's not like, you just want to just give somebody a bunch of money necessarily and like, oh, go do whatever the hell you want. Like, but I think the conversations need to get more to a point where there's more trust between the two, just like every facet, different facet of society needs to be more vulnerable and have more open conversations. But I think there's a power struggle, obviously. When there's money, there's a power struggle. Or when there's space, there's a power struggle. But I don't know, it's an interesting time because the people that you find to work with, we're all in a different emotional space right now. And I think it's a good time to start talking about what is the foundation of the future of the art world, or what is the foundation of the future of the world, of course. But within that, I think it's important for an artist to not be put on a trajectory by somebody else. And a lot of us have to do jobs to survive. We're not just selling the shit out of our paintings to the point where we're like, oh, like I can do whatever the fuck I want. And I think it would be really cool if people were more interested in the potential of this artist instead of just the transactional, here's some money, I really need you to do this thing. You know what I mean? And I think that's important for people to be able to create their true selves. They're like, and which I think is important for the world because it's honest and it's like, it shows their perspective and it can, and art, I think the power of art is the ability to change people's perception about things. And perception is everything because, well, to me, perception is everything because I've changed a lot of my perceptions in life to be able to live a more content life. It's not based on some bullshit that's going on in my brain, you know? Like, I don't know. I can't think of an example right now, but, you know, just even the idea of like wanting to control your world and where you end up and where you go, like that can really get people in a lot of trouble and get people hurt. Or if somebody's like thinking homicidal thoughts or because of something small, like people do that, you know, but all they need is a perception shift to, you know, like they need to learn that that's not a great idea. And it's not that big of a deal that you're making it out to be, you know?
Yeah. How do people that don't have an avenue of like expression, like what are the tools that people, you know, I think we're fortunate as having this conversation before that it's not that I just bury feelings or things that happen to me, but like I absorb them and I wait for them to come back, you know, in like a positive way or like in a you can see them like in a picture or like in a song and like without art being incorporated into our lives or everyone's lives, like I think people are easier to break, you know, and there's no way of shifting perception. So I think that's why kind of art plays an important role in everyone's life, whether they make it or they're exposed to like, you know, someone else's.
There's so many different ways to be involved in art. You don't have to just make it, you know, there's so many ways. And not just art, creativity. Obviously we're in a privileged enough position to where I can, you know, both my parents were artists, where they are looking at the stuff that I do and they're like juiced on it, you know, and some parents, like not everybody's in a privileged enough position to like be able to be passionate about something. Some people are forced into doing other things. Some people are born or in areas that don't have as much resources to be able to create or do what they, you know, find that passion. And that's why I think it's important for people that are receiving from their creativity to give back as much as they can. Like, because like some people feel like their back is up against the wall, and absolutely having a passion would obviously it's the best thing in fucking life to me, having an extreme passion that I can obsess about and like go into and like care for and, you know, do everything that I can to like be able to just do it, you know? There are so many ways to have a creative passion, even like entrepreneurship or sports or whatever it is, education. Those things aren't always granted to people, but if you really try hard, or if you hit some sort of rock bottom and you have to start your life over, if you're given that opportunity, that's an opportunity to find something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I've only been alive for 30 something years. I don't know where it like changed. You know, I imagine a different time where most of the population, you know, was just trying to survive, and then it slowly started to separate, you know, and people that were able to kind of reflect the things that they were seeing it started gaining value, you know, then those things got protected. And I feel like somewhere it slipped back again, and we're back to just like trying to survive, or like a majority of the world. And then inversely, there's like a whole group of people that, you know, that's all they do is make shit up.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we just bring it back to the middle again, where it's incorporated into everything? Because I feel like those two poles are getting farther apart.
Yeah.
And it's distracting. There's so many distractions, I think.
Yeah.
Like you said, the automation of you picking up your phone and immediately your fingers bringing you to this world, you know, like those are things that are just getting ingrained in us. And
yeah,
so it's like, well, how do we protect ourselves and our society and our world from losing it, you know?
Man, that's a deep conversation, because you know, it's like even just the fact that we have these cheap cell phones, it impacts other people in such a dark way, you know, where we get all the materials from the earth to like make these things. It's an unbalanced world, humanity that we live in, and it's been going that way since the beginning of for a long time. Maybe the first or second industrial revolution. But now we're at this interesting point where we're in a technological revolution, and we're at the point where things are changing extremely rapidly, and there is no real like foundation for anything. Even the United States economy has no real foundation for anything. It's just like money moving around like without any like real solid industry. I mean, it's got the tech industry, but there's no real like industry of making things, or it's just like, and that's something that I mean, I think it's being addressed somehow or another. I don't know, like everything that we get is like at the cost of other people. And so do we need to completely change everything in order to get to a place where it's possible to balance everything? But it's hard, as you know, it's hard to even ponder that stuff without just feeling very, very small in a big, you know? But we absolutely have to. More than ponder, we have to find our own way to take some kind of action. I don't know. Like we're in an interesting place.
Yeah. And I think the recent, our most recent history shows even the people that are taking the most consideration even have blind spots. You know?
Well, there's no way around. I mean, it's very sublime. You know, it's like looking into a deep, dark storm abyss and being like, okay, like and having a tiny little ship or something, and pondering getting to the other side of that. But you're gonna get hit from all angles, no matter. It's almost like we're at a point too where people, I think, are just afraid of walking into any part of that storm, especially right now, because there's so much against all of us. Where even when it comes to things like cancel culture or like no matter what direction you might go, you're going to get hit with a brick from some direction, But we live in this society that also gives us this sense of comfort and the ability to live as individuals, and most people don't really want to walk out of that comfortable space because it's dangerous. Very dangerous.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It was cool seeing the country this year when we went on that trip, in every different like aspect of it, whether we were like stopping at shitty hotels next to carnivals, or like meeting with mayors and like friends from different places, just absorbing all of that. And I think what happens is our perception narrows, without us understanding, and before we know it, we are in the middle of that storm. But
what an experience.
Yeah, that was a trip. Thank you for coming on that. That was pretty intense.
There was like going to all these different places that I'd never even been before was a trip, but also like putting up these voting posters in public. It was a very interesting, but it felt like no matter how I feel on the political spectrum, it felt like purposeful, Yeah. And a dangerous adventure during a dangerous time, which I think it gave all of us life. During a sort of a dark, at least scary time,
Formulating the whole dynamics of the entire trip. And just, if anyone's listening, we did like a 10 city 50 mural installation tour in 20 days across the United States to encourage people to vote. And we hit a lot of places, but just formulating the dynamics of that group prior to actually starting the trip was so fun, because there was you and Gage and Austin and Derek, and each person had their own feelings coming into the trip, just based off of like the pandemic, and then like the political spectrum, and like the risks of getting sick or getting assaulted for something that we were representing, even though what we were representing was neutral. So it was fun because I had like you, who was completely like everyone was super down to go, but everyone had their own reservations, and your reservations were based off of like, us representing maybe some sort of like alternate political views to people that may be hostile in some of these places.
Well, not just hostile, but it felt a little in the idea of going into, I don't know, lower income areas, because they're low income areas and they don't get as many votes, and bringing these big voting posters. And I don't know, it just, I didn't know how I felt about it at first. And not because I'm judging the people there, more because I'm looking at all of us and, like, are we just stepping on any toes? Like, in the wrong way. But I found that on the trip, or not stepping on any toes, I don't know the best way to put it, but I didn't know if I felt comfortable with just like,
putting out messages into communities that you didn't necessarily feel
like
I don't can identify.
Like, I don't know what that community is about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I guess it was different for me because I had personal relations with the people in the community that was like helping set up the thing, and I'm the most terrible person at communicating. So like, I feel like I was super comfortable because I had established these relationships. But like, I'm thankful for you guys for being fearless, for just like following me into these places sometimes. But it was cool. Like all the consideration and reservation that went into those, like you having this feeling, Gage being absolutely against anything that had to do with like the coronavirus and like getting sick, and then Austin and Derek, they don't give a fuck about anything. So
yeah, there was a lot of trust that built between us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was cool. I felt like at some points we spent a little too much time in certain areas, like in certain places, like
camping at the mall in Atlanta.
Yeah, camping at the mall in Atlanta being one of those. Yeah, I don't know. I've always been like that. Like I like to be less. I don't like people looking at me like what's going on, which is like weird because I love painting murals outside in the public, but I like to more like kind of sneak in to situations and get to know people around me and then sort of move from there. So that was very quick for me.
It was loud pulling up in a Cruise Across America RV, into some of these places. I don't even remember what were the graphics on the side of the.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Mountain climbing stuff. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's
really
loud.
Don't remember.
And what's funny is that all of the things that we went through on that trip, because you got out in New York because you had to go paint in Mississippi. But it's not like it ended.
But I had to go to Houston to meet my and then I had to teach a class, an online class. And then I was still in school. I was in school full time. So I was like doing my art history homework and
in the RV the whole time. The
Yeah.
RV is just like bouncing around.
That was intense, man.
It was a super intense experience.
But it gave us all life. You could see it. I can't wait for the next one. What are we doing?
I know.
I mean, when I go out to Mississippi, my goal is to, have a similar thing going on out there and like bring artists there, but then like where are we going from there? Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like what's the next trip? Is that we're going out from Mississippi to Florida, back up to New York to Detroit again, or like you know exactly what I'm saying. Like, when's the next adventure, you know?
And that wasn't even that was the second adventure we had. The first adventure we had when we like had your bachelor party-ish.
In New Mexico.
Yeah, we went to New
With
Mexico.
Drew Merritt and the boys.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was a good one too.
That was awesome. You guys took some acid out in the forest.
That was like the night before you got there. That was a good one.
Yeah.
That was one of the craziest experiences I've ever had in my life. I've never felt my presence like that before, like in relation to the Earth and also other planets, because the way that we watched the moon rise and we were on top of this like 10,000 foot peak, and the way that it came from above us and you can just see it down there chilling, like it was the craziest fucking shit I've ever seen. It was the craziest thing. It literally just brought us all to our knees and we just sat down, and there might have been like, it was really dark, so you could hear the sound of tears falling.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It was it was super
Beautiful.
intense. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Mm.
But something about that, you know, I can't but encourage adventure, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been here for 3 months and I'm dying right now.
I'm the same way. It's kind of like I had to I love LA so much, and I've been there for a long time, and I love all the adventures I believe that I could have there. But I do get this thing like where when I've been there for too long, I really, really, really need to get out of there. And right now especially, it's kind of a weird time to it's a weird time to be there when everything's kind of shut down. And like I'm really excited to have been able to be up here, spend time with you guys and my family, create, but I'm also ready to go somewhere that I've never experienced before, you know? And try to do our thing there, you know?
Mm-hmm. There's something about the comfort in the unfamiliar, because if you have just like this feeling of like self-awareness, and then you bring that self-awareness into something that's unfamiliar, then it just seems like there's the kind of endless possibilities. Like
Mm-hmm.
when we go paint murals places and like go travel and do these things, and you just show up and there's all these places you've never seen before, and you just seeing these businesses and these streets and like these people, and you're like, wow, this feels really good. Like,
yeah.
like, I don't know
Absolutely.
anyone, and like I don't know any of these things. There's so much to know and understand and like bring to this place.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get your own idea. It's so easy to get not your own idea, but it's so easy to get everybody else's idea of what a place is before you go there, you know? It's funny because I've heard a lot of like negative things about Mississippi, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know a lot about it, but my experience there has been the people in the city that I was, small city that I was doing the mural at in Clarksdale, were beautiful people. Like you know what I mean? Like the way that, I mean, it's a blues town, and the blues comes out in every single person there. Like I had a lot of conversations with people that just walked by that just were just filled with like just Southern soul, you know, and you can't really get that going into a place with the mind state that you hear the, like, I don't know if it's like the West Coast view of the South or something.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know what it is, or the northern view of the South, but I've never really spent a lot of time down in the South, but I've never gotten that vibe when I was down there. And I know it, like, I know really scary, weird shit exists there. And I saw like a little bit of weird stuff. I mean, like, you definitely go down streets that have like the biggest Trump signs you've ever seen in your life. But then, you know, like on the other side of the street, though, you know, there's something completely else going on. And there's a different type of kind of love and respect down there that I haven't really seen too much of out here. You know what I mean? It's just different. Like, I see an interesting potential there.
Yeah,
and I want to see if that is helpful to the people I'm around, you know?
Well, selfishly, I'm very thankful for you going to go plant a flag, you know, to create a new portal to bring everyone through, because it's going to be fun, you know?
Yeah. And there's people, a longtime collector and friend of mine, Oliver Luckett, is out there like doing some interesting things, because he's from there originally. So he's out there trying to build the town up, you know, like to a better place. Not that it's like completely run down or anything, just that it has an interesting culture already there, like a beautiful culture already there, and a very deep American rooted music culture. But he's staying there now, and he's building an economic development program, some of the people out there. And through that, there's also a nonprofit that is helping teach kids entrepreneurship, and I want to be a part of that as well, and bring different artists out there to teach classes for these kids, and see what we can build with that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just about just going to Mississippi randomly. Like, there's definitely stuff in the building sense of things, but I'm really excited to see what can build from there, you know? And then whatever's next.
Well, we can guarantee one thing that's going to be happening the whole time.
Art.
Yeah. Probably painting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Well, thank you for the last couple of months.
Thank you so much.
And all of these paintings, and I'm excited to show everyone these paintings and keep making weird shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. It's just another day.
Yes, sir.
Just another day.
Just another day in the office.
Just another day. Cool. Well, do you have anything else?
No?
Yeah, I think it was good.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Rabbi?
We can talk about the work, maybe. I don't know.
Shut the fuck up.